Have you ever heard of Ely S. Parker, a remarkable figure who bridged the world of the Seneca people and the rapidly evolving United States during the 19th century? Parker was a man of many firsts, a trailblazer who became one of the first Native Americans to hold a high-ranking position in the U.S. government. Yet, his legacy is not without controversy. To some members of his tribe, he was seen as a traitor for aligning himself with the very government that threatened native sovereignty. To others, he was a visionary, navigating a complicated landscape to secure a better future for his people. Born in 1828 into the Seneca tribe, part of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, commonly known as the Iroquois, Parker lived in an era of significant upheaval for Native America. With European settlers encroaching on traditional lands and native communities facing mounting pressure to assimilate, Parker stood at a crossroads of two cultures. Educated in Western schools and steeped in the traditions of his tribe, he faced the challenge of reconciling these conflicting worlds. This video will take you on a journey through Parker's extraordinary life, from his upbringing in New York to his critical role in drafting the Confederate surrender documents that ended the Civil War, and finally to his tenure as the Commissioner Indian Affairs. Along the way, we'll explore why some of his actions were seen as betrayals by his people, despite his lifelong dedication to improving the lives of Native Americans. By the end of this story, you'll be left to ponder. Was Ely S. Parker a traitor, or was he a hero misunderstood by his time? Let's dive into his life and unravel the complex legacy of this remarkable man. Ely Samuel Parker was born in 1828 in Genesee County, New York, into a prominent Seneca family. The Seneca were part of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, also known as the Iroquois Confederacy, a sophisticated and influential political alliance of Native American nations. Parker's family was deeply rooted in their traditions, with his father serving as a spiritual leader and his mother instilling in him a strong connection to Seneca culture. Despite their traditional roles, Parker's parents recognized the value of formal education in an increasingly westernized world. Growing up, Parker faced the challenges of navigating two cultures. He learned English and attended local schools, where he was often the only Native American student. Despite discrimination and systemic barriers, he excelled academically. His early education set the foundation for his future endeavors, as he pursued opportunities to blend his cultural identity with the broader societal changes occurring around him. Parker's early exposure to Western education and his aptitude for science led him to pursue a career in engineering. At a time when Native Americans were largely excluded from such fields, Parker broke barriers. He trained as a civil engineer and began working on significant infrastructure projects, including the Erie Canal and various railroads. These projects not only showcased his technical skills, but also demonstrated his ability to thrive in environments where few Native Americans were represented. Parker's engineering career was a testament to his determination to succeed in a field dominated by non-natives. His work brought him into contact with influential figures and helped him develop a reputation as a capable and reliable professional. However, his ambitions extended beyond engineering. He sought to use his skills to benefit his people and bridge the gap between Native and Western societies. When the Civil War erupted in 1861, Parker's expertise and connections led him to join the Union Army. Initially, his application to serve as an officer was denied due to his race. However, his persistence and the advocacy of his allies eventually secured him a position as a military secretary to General Ulysses S. Grant. This role placed Parker at the heart of some of the most significant events of the war. As Grant's secretary, Parker was responsible for drafting official correspondence and documents. His most notable contribution came in April 1865 at Appomattox Courthouse, where he penned the terms of surrender that ended the Civil War. Standing alongside Grant, Parker witnessed the historic moment when Confederate General Robert E. Lee signed the surrender document. His role in this event cemented his place in American history, though it also complicated his standing within his own community. Ely S. Parker's decision to collaborate with the U.S. government and actively serve in its military did not sit well with many members of the Seneca tribe and other Native American communities. At the time, Native tribes were grappling with the harsh realities of displacement, systemic oppression, and cultural erasure at the hands of the U.S. government. For the Seneca, who had a proud history of resistance and self-determination, any form of cooperation with their oppressors was viewed with deep suspicion. Parker's work with General Ulysses S. Grant during the Civil War, while a testament to his skills and intelligence, was seen by some Seneca as a betrayal of their values. The U.S. Army had often been an instrument of violence against Native peoples, enforcing policies that resulted in forced removals, massacres, and the destruction of tribal lands and resources. By becoming a Union officer and later taking on a prominent government role, Parker was perceived as choosing the side of those who oppressed his people. Even though Parker himself often expressed his deep respect for Seneca traditions and culture, his decisions led to a growing disconnect between him and his community. Many of his contemporaries saw his actions not as a bridge between two worlds, but as an abandonment of one for the other. This sentiment was compounded by the historical trauma that Native Americans carried. Memories of broken treaties, land seizures, and cultural suppression weighed heavily on the collective psyche of the Seneca people. Ely S. Parker's approach to advocacy and leadership stemmed from his belief that working within the system was the most effective way to protect Native rights. He understood that the political and military structures of the United States wielded immense power, and he hoped to leverage his position to advocate for Native interests. This strategy, however, was not widely understood or accepted within his community. To the Seneca, Parker's cooperation with the government appeared to contradict the principles of resistance and autonomy that they value. His acceptance of a federal appointment as Commissioner of Indian Affairs in 1869 was seen by some as a capitulation to the very system that had marginalized them. Parker's insistence that engagement was necessary for change was met with skepticism, as many feared that working within the system would ultimately lead to further assimilation and loss of identity. Additionally, Parker's prominent role in drafting the Confederate surrender terms at Appomattox Courthouse became a symbolic moment that further complicated his standing. While it was a historic achievement for the United States, for some members of the Seneca, it represented Parker's prioritization of a foreign government's cause over the struggles of his own people. The perception of betrayal was deeply rooted in the unique challenges faced by Native Americans during Parker's time. His community judged his actions through the lens of a collective struggle for survival and sovereignty, viewing any association with the U.S. government as a compromise of those ideals. Parker's attempts to explain his intentions were often overshadowed by the prevailing narrative of collaboration, which painted him as someone who had abandoned the fight for Native self-determination. Despite these accusations, Parker maintained that his goal was to secure a future where Native Americans could coexist within the American system while preserving their cultural identity. His strategy was undoubtedly controversial, but it highlighted the difficult choices faced by Native leaders during a period of intense upheaval and transformation. Ely S. Parker's career was marked by several groundbreaking achievements. In 1869, he became the first Native American to serve as Commissioner of Indian Affairs, a role that allowed him to influence federal policies affecting Native communities. During his tenure, he advocated for fair treatment and sought to address long-standing grievances related to land rights, resource allocation, and education. Parker's appointment was historic, but his tenure was not without challenges. As commissioner, he worked tirelessly to root out corruption within the Bureau of Indian Affairs, an agency plagued by inefficiency and exploitation. He sought to implement policies that emphasized education and economic self-sufficiency for native tribes, believing that these were essential for long-term survival and prosperity. His reforms, however, faced significant resistance from entrenched interests within the government and from individuals who opposed native empowerment. One of Parker's most notable achievements was his effort to secure resources for native communities in need. He worked to ensure that treaty obligations were honored and that tribes received the supplies and support they were promised. His background, as both a Seneca leader and a federal official, gave him a unique perspective, enabling him to advocate effectively for policies that balanced native interests with political realities. Despite his best efforts, Parker's tenure as commissioner was cut short by political opposition and allegations of mismanagement, many of which were rooted in prejudice against his native heritage. These challenges underscored the difficulties he faced in navigating a system that was often hostile to both him and the communities he sought to serve. In hindsight, Parker's life and career are seen as pioneering. He navigated a complex and often hostile environment to achieve a level of influence that few Native Americans of his time could attain. His legacy is a testament to the power of resilience and the importance of representation in shaping policy and public perception. Today, Parker is celebrated as a trailblazer who sought to bridge the divide between Native and Western world. His story serves as a reminder of the sacrifices made by those who dared to challenge the status quo in pursuit of a better future for their people. Although his methods were not universally accepted, his contributions paved the way for future generations of Native leaders to engage with and influence the systems that governed their lives. Ely S. Parker's life was defined by his ability to navigate between two vastly different worlds. As a member of the Seneca tribe and a high-ranking official in the U.S. government, he faced scrutiny from both sides. To his detractors within the Native community, his willingness to work within the U.S. system appeared to be a betrayal of their values and struggle for autonomy. Conversely, many in the U.S. government viewed him with suspicion because of his Native heritage. Despite these challenges, Parker remained committed to his vision of securing a future for Native Americans within the framework of the American political system. One of the most enduring aspects of Parker's legacy is the debate over his approach to leadership. His decision to cooperate with the U.S. government was rooted in his belief that change could only be achieved from within the system. While this strategy brought tangible benefits, such as improved infrastructure and advocacy for Native rights, it also subjected him to harsh criticism. Some argued that his methods compromised the principles of resistance and sovereignty that were central to Native identity. Despite the controversy surrounding his actions, Parker's legacy continues to inspire. His achievements demonstrate the importance of representation and the potential for individuals to effect change, even in the face of significant adversity. Parker's life serves as a powerful example of the complexities involved in leadership, particularly for those who must navigate conflicting cultural expectations. Today, Parker is recognized as a trailblazer who challenged the status quo and sought to create opportunities for Native Americans in a rapidly changing world. His story highlights the importance of resilience, adaptability, and the courage to pursue a vision, even when it is not universally understood or accepted. In recent years, efforts to honor Parker's contributions have gained momentum. His role in drafting the terms of surrender at Appomattox Courthouse is now celebrated as a pivotal moment in American history. Additionally, his work as Commissioner of Indian Affairs is increasingly acknowledged as a significant step toward addressing the systemic challenges faced by Native communities. Monuments, museums, and educational programs dedicated to Parker's legacy emphasize his role as a bridge between cultures. These initiatives aim to shed light on the complexities of his life and encourage a deeper understanding of the challenges faced by Native leaders during his time. By examining his story, future generations can gain valuable insights into the struggles and triumphs of those who fought to preserve their heritage while seeking to engage with a rapidly evolving world. Ultimately, Ely S. Parker's legacy is one of courage, vision, and a commitment to making a difference. His life reminds us that true leadership often requires navigating difficult choices and embracing the complexities of identity and purpose. Ely S. Parker's story is a profound testament to resilience, adaptability, and the pursuit of justice in an era of profound change. His life serves as a window into the challenges faced by Native Americans during the 19th century, as they navigated the pressures of assimilation, cultural survival, and systemic oppression. Parker's dual identity as a Seneca leader and a U.S. government official allowed him to occupy a unique position of influence. While this duality enabled him to advocate for Native communities, it also subjected him to criticism from both his own people and the broader American society. His efforts to balance these competing demands reflect a broader struggle faced by many indigenous leaders of his time. Today, Ely S. Parker is remembered as a visionary who sought to bridge the divide between Native and Western worlds. His legacy is one of perseverance, courage, and a relentless commitment to securing a better future for his people. While his methods and choices were not universally accepted, they were undeniably driven by a deep sense of responsibility and an unwavering belief in the potential for positive change. As we reflect on Parker's life, we are reminded of the importance of understanding and honoring the complexities of history. His story encourages us to recognize the sacrifices made by those who dared to challenge the status quo and to appreciate the enduring impact of their contribution. By studying figures like Ely S. Parker, we gain valuable insights into the dynamics of leadership, identity, and the pursuit of justice in the face of adversity. In an era where the contributions of Native Americans are often overlooked, Parker's life stands as a beacon of hope and a call to action. His story invites us to engage with history in a way that is both critical and compassionate, ensuring that the lessons of the past continue to inform our efforts to build a more equitable and inclusive future.